Hey all, Board Game Rants here, where you'll find everything solo, tabletop, gaming, and more. Let's have a look inside SpaceCorp 2025-2300 AD. A John Butterfield design, my first. Here, let's take a look. Okay, before we get into it, this is a GMT game. GMT is known for making its war games, a coin series, I believe, which a lot of solo players are into. I have not personally really gotten into them. Coin, I had to look it up, stands for CO, is the counter, and then the IN, I think, is insurgency. War games, essentially. This is not a war game, but, you know, I have, let's see here, yeah, I have Labyrinth down there. I've had it for years, and I've never really fully played a solo game. I should probably do that. That would be kind of my first official coin venture. And then, let's see, up here, you know, I've got Twilight Struggle, but that's not a solo game. You can get an app on your phone and play it solo. And then see, way down there, boop, there's Dominant Species. I think those are the only GMT games I have, except for now this one. And so this is all about space exploration. Let's bust open the top and see what we got inside. Okay, changed the lighting a little bit. I was getting massive amounts of glare. We got the top off here. So John Butterfield, I understand, is a war game designer himself. This, again, is not, but it is my first of his designs. I understand he makes some pretty swell solo games, so I'm pretty excited to get into this and see what I think about it. And, of course, we've got, well, this is a pretty massive rule book here. Oh, that's because there's two of them. So my understanding is, and I've read through this one online, and then it comes with a multiplayer rulebook. So you'd think that you have to read, you know, this one first, and then here's how you play the solo variant. My understanding is you don't. You never, if you're not going to play this multiplayer, you don't have to read that at all. It's all in here, because I've heard people not really complaining, but not really realizing, you know, they could have saved themselves some time by just skipping this one. Because yeah, we're not, you know, it's not a little tiny manual by any means. It seemed pretty clear as I was reading through the solo one, but I'm believing that, and actually, it feels like the solo one is a little bit thicker at 25, 27 versus multiplayer, which is at, here ends at a 23 there. So yeah, so hopefully, hopefully I went through this right now. About half of this, what's interesting too about SpaceCorp is that you're going to be playing actually in like 3 games, essentially 3 different boards. You're going to have to stop, you know, 2 times, I guess, whatever, to reset the board up for like kind of the next era. And so there's going to be half of this is just explaining the first era and the basic rules, and then the other half, the ending an era, you only played about a third of the game once you've gotten through the first era, which is the Mariners or something like that. I think I want to say Mariners. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. And then once you're done with the Mariners era, then you're going to play the Planeteers era, which is a little bit further out in space, and then you're going to play the Starfarers era, which is the last one. So there's like a setting up era 2, and then there's some little more rules that they add to the basic rules, which I think is kind of fun. I like that. You got the core mechanisms introduced in the first era, and then as you get into the second era, you actually could just sort of read the first rules and skip half this rule book and just get right into the game. And then once you hit era 2, I mean, it helps probably set you up better if you know what's coming. But then you could get to era 2 and then just sort of read the quick little, I don't know, it's not exactly quick little, adds a few actions once you get into the second era. And then you get through that, and then you get to the end of the second era. You set up for the third and final one. And so this is a long game, which is the only drawback I can really think of to it right now. Is I've just been playing a series of long games, and I'm not fed up. It's just like, yeah, I want to play more games, and these things are taking up mass amounts of time. Anyway, the AI is supposed to be pretty smooth on this, and then at the end, once you've got some familiarity with the game, you can add in some optional era situations, which sort of change up. They're like little event cards, it looks like, at the beginning of each era, to mix things up a little bit. So, anyway, full solo rulebook, which I think explains everything that you need to know. And as a solo gamer, I can just totally ignore that multiplayer rulebook. Over here, we got ourselves some player aids. Wow, these are thick. These are nice. And yeah, these aren't little flimsy things here, pieces of paper. This is the real deal here. So yeah, this looks like just a standard player aid. Oh wait, maybe not. I don't know. I think there's a standard player aid, and then there's a solo one. These all look the same. Looking the same. Okay, here we go. So, because your solo, your AI opponent is called the competition, and real original. So your competition is going to be going to have its own player aid here, and so you'll have quite a. I mean, there's a lot going on here, but it looks pretty easy to look up as you play. You can just kind of be like, oh, is it going to get did it put out a base that it can score points on? Oh, it did. What kind of base is it? What era am I in? Boom, it gets that. So, and so I'm hoping it's pretty straightforward. Competition actions. So this kind of goes over just everything and how to run the AI, which is basically a flip. There's going to be a deck in each era that runs the AI, and you're going to flip over a card, and you're only going to look at the bottom few words of it, and it's going to tell you what to do. It's going to either do a side action, an offers action, I guess in certain areas a progress action, and then let's see here, more side action instruction than discovery and contract action. So there's sort of like side action, offers action, progress action, discovery, and contract action. So there's not a whole bunch of actions that it can do. So okay, let's move along here. Okay, player boards. I think, man, this is pretty high quality stuff. Super duper thick. And two-sided because maybe one of these is solo and legacy production. I'm pretty sure this is I don't honestly know which side I'll be using, but I know that there's a time where you can actually save a thing that gives you production, which essentially gives you points, and you put it right there. So I'm assuming and I don't see it here, so it's going to be pretty sure this is the side I'll be using. And then let's see here, we got a whole bunch more of those, and then gosh, a whole bunch more of these. What? Why is there so many of these? I do not know. See here, there's research 2, move 2, build 1, and there's only research 2 and move 1 on that. So I don't know why there's so many of these little player boards, but I know that they come with base actions that you can take, and then you can actually upgrade these actions. And they'll just give you kind of a set of actions you can always take, and then you're going to be drawing cards which can boost those actions. Or you don't even have to use those actions at all. Nice little on your turn here thing. Just tells you step by step what you're going to be doing. You're going to put your bases there. You're going to be able to progress in certain ways and earn cards that give you special abilities, adaptations and stuff. Very cool. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. Now, there's one thing about GMT games. They usually have just a bunch of cards. So, poach. I don't know why this cute little small deck here. And chemical drive. All right. Wow. Lots and lots of cards, but I like the way they're laid out. It's very, very, you get a nice little cute little picture there, but it's just very bold and like, boom, this is what you can do. And there's not a lot of complication in trying to figure out, oh, what can I do with this card? It's just like plow, which is kind of cool. And then at the bottom here, you can see this is the only, when the AI is taking its turn, the only thing it's going to look at, or that you have to look at, is that bottom. So it's going to take an all offers action in that one. It's going to take a Phobos Demos action in that one, where it's going to be either placing a base or trying to, reach it. Same here, Solar LP2, South Mars, offers 1, 3, and 4. Okay, so that's all you have to pay attention to when you're running the AI. So, boom, 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 stackety stackertons. This is don't know why these little cards are on their own here. So, I guess we'll find that out. Moving on. L bags, and nice little pieces here, playing pieces. You got your bases, not your bases, but your teams that you're going to be sending out into the great beyond. And looks like we got yes. Here's the boards, and I think there's 3 boards you're going to be playing on, but then one of them you're going to flip over, and it's going to become sort of a it'll have little advancements on it, and then you'll switch to the other board, and then you'll be flipping that board over for the final era. So there's 2 big game boards here, and then here's all the goodies to be punched out. Yes. As you're exploring, you're going to be drawing random tiles here as to discover. Once you get to an area, you can take an explore action and discover certain things, and they're going to give you points and abilities. And then here's the colonies. I know this is something that you're not going to use until the 3rd era. Here's all your bases, and the bases, you can only put certain bases on certain spots, and each base has its own little perk to it. This is going to keep track. So profit is essentially your victory points, and these are what's going to keep track of it. If you're the first person to kind of get out to a certain spot in an era, you're going to get advantages the next era. So, all right, okay, let's keep going. Looks like we got more of the stuff. So on the back of that, you can see, Yep, kind of looks the same-ish, except for, these are going to be drawn randomly, these discoveries, so you don't know what you're going to get until you draw it. Okay, but more of all that sort of stuff, and then more of all that sort of stuff again. Okay. And then, lastly, it looks like we have, so here's the scoring board, and then here's where you can, like an achievement board. So this is the first to, do a produce action. So the Mariners, Planeteers, Starfarers, these are the 3 different eras, and then the first to accomplish certain things in those eras gets extra points. Excellent. Let's take a look at some of these cards. And I've since found out why the different player boards. I didn't really realize, but you, as a game variant, at least in multiplayer, I don't think this translates over to solo, but you can start the game and or end the game in each era. So you can start a game in the Planeteers era, start a game in the Starfarers, the last era. And if you do that, then you're going to have different boards to set up with. So that's what that was all about. I was wondering, this will be the board that I'd be using playing solo. So, and then here are all the cards. And I think there was I remember Twilight Struggle, there being a way to play like a late game or something, so you could skip all the beginning stuff. Anyway, kind of cool. But back there, you got the cards. Here are all the cards that are going to allow me to take the different actions in the different eras. And then also, too, at the bottom of each of these eras, or the bottom of each of these cards is the action that the competition is going to have its own deck that it's going to be drawing from. I'm going to have my own deck that I'm going to be drawing from. And then we've got some adaptations, breakthroughs. These are different progress cards you can earn. Time cards, those get added into, I think in the last era, there's more or less something that just the AI uses, but I'm not positive on that. Here are the boards. So I'll be starting by playing on the Mariners and exploring, from Earth here out to the different areas, trying to reach this asteroid belt, essentially, I think. And then you're done with that era, you're going to flip this over. And boom, this is now going to serve as where you're going to put all the progress cards here. It tells you what you do in the, again, this looks like the final era when you can place colonies. But then you'll have this board off to the side, and you'll then be playing on this board for the second era, the Planeteers. And that's, now we've got Saturn and our solar system out here to explore. And then you'll go to your third era, flip this thing over, and you'll be in an upside down universe. I was right the first time. Oh, what a disaster. I am as destructive as a black hole. There we go. So this is the the Starfarers era, where you're bouncing around, and it's just like these numbers represent how far you have to travel. It's just crazy. We're talking in like the light years, I think, in this particular era. Anyway, hopefully that gives you a good general idea what this game is going to be about. I'm pretty excited for it. And I appreciate you watching. And join me at the end of each month. I always talk about the games that I've played. This will certainly be one of them, and I'll be talking about what I think about them in the MVP show that I do again monthly. Until next time, I'm Board Game Rants. I appreciate you watching, and I'm out.